You're listening to the Jaybird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fanside.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Good evening or late afternoon for everybody on the West Coast. I am your host, Craig Borden, and welcome to the Jaybird Watching Podcast. This is episode 462 this evening. Jason Lyons, my co-host, buddy. How the heck are you?
Really good, Craig. It's been a terrible week of weather out here in Vancouver, so it's nice to see the sun crack through and a lot of baseball for the kids to play this weekend. And, lots of there's a good win for the Jays last night. So, fun stuff to talk about. It's not doom and gloom.
No, it's weird, isn't it? So joining us in the I'll just say moving on up broadcast that we're going to be talking about here today, Tyler Zickel, the voice of the Vancouver Canadians. Long time, buddy. How's it been?
That was great to see you. Thanks for having me. Things are going great. Season 5 for me here in Vancouver after 3 seasons with AA New Hampshire, 17, 18, and 19. So 8 seasons of Blue Jays organizational watching for me, which has, for the most part, been a treat, regardless of how things have gone at the major league level the last couple of seasons. Very glad to be doing what I do.
Awesome. And you have the plethora of talent that you get to enjoy every evening. So let's just dive into it. I want to make sure that the Blue Jays fans that love our show here on the Barroom Chat for Blue Jays fans that get a chance to get a little view of what's going on in Vancouver, because you, I think, are the center point of all the major talent in the Blue Jays organization right now.
It does seem like the basketball.
Last night.
Yes, it does seem like the basketball through the garden hose is stopping at High A Vancouver right now in terms of prospect talent. And let's just start at the top, literally and figuratively. Arjun Namala and Trey Savage. Arjun's been with us since the start of the season. Top prospect, 19-year-old shortstop. He's been in the game 5 times out of 6 every single series. He's staying healthy. He's staying consistent. All over the league leaderboard, hitting tape measure home runs. And a guy who now is tied for the league lead in the Northwest League with 8 home runs thanks to his 3-run shot last night, which at the time put the Canadians in front of the Eugene Emeralds after Trey Savage, the number 2 prospect and top pitching prospect in the system, gave up a 2-run home run in the first over the first 4 batters that he faced, a 4-pitch walk, strikeout, 2-run homer. And then in the second inning, had the bases loaded, nobody out, but went pop out, strikeout, and then settled in from there. He struck out 7 of the final 8 batters he faced, really mowing down these Eugene Emeralds hitters. And at the time when Namala hit the 3-run home run, it put the Canadians in front. They got another run on an Arjun sacrifice fly. They were cruising 4-2. And then after 4 innings of Savage, not a ranked prospect, but Gage Stanifer, who's had a terrific season down in Single A, late round draft pick out of high school from some years ago in Indianapolis. He looked good, save for 3 consecutive 2-out walks and then a go-ahead double that was kind of a blooper, played into a double by the fast turf here at PK Park. So long-winded way to say some injection of talent, both ranked and non-ranked. So certainly it's been a great first start to Trey Savage's Canadians career.
10 strikeouts, I think, in total, right?
10 strikeouts in 4 innings. So that's what, like a 22.5 strikeout per 9? Whatever, sustainable.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Tyler, it's interesting, and it's so I've been to a couple of C's games this year. Fortunately, I have 2 really good friends who have 4 seats right behind the warm-up circle, so the on-deck circle. So I get to go to a fair amount of games, and I've seen Arjun now, and it's. I brought my sons to the one, and my son Jet said to me, "Dad, that's the best baseball player I've ever seen." And this is just kids watching this. And at that point, he hadn't hit a home run. It was very early in the season. He made 2 plays at short. One of them was of the ridiculous variety up the middle. And just the way he walks and talks and handles himself, he just oozes baseball player. And so what's it been like for you to see a guy that, again, we've seen some more high schoolers than we've seen lately, I think, prospecting and actually playing. But what's it like to see a kid that's that young in the Jays system just absolutely fulfilling his potential right now?
I think that it's not only a terrific surprise, obviously Arjun as advertised with the talent on the field, but the off the field poise has been the thing that I'm actually telling everybody that I've been most impressed by. 19 years old, tons of expectation, multimillionaire. He's been on everyone's lips over the last year plus. dealt with that adversity last year, really with some serious maturity coming back after that stint, the reset, if you will, and putting together some very nice numbers. He's obviously added some good muscle in the offseason, so he understands that he's still growing, still filling out his frame. The intangible tools, as your son was able to see, Jason, are very obvious, even not saying your son's the untrained eye, but even to a casual fan, an untrained baseball watcher, for lack of a better term, you can sense his aura, to borrow a term from Gen Z. So really, truly, it's the off-field stuff that really I think is the separator, and you can see how much more there is to go for Arjun to reach that ceiling. And the Blue Jays have to get it right. When have the Blue Jays, since Vladdy and Bo, brought up a top prospect that has stuck around and been somebody you can build a franchise around? I worked for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats that season in 2018, and you knew that the Vladdy and Bo train had a one-way ticket to Rogers Center. You just knew in Double-A. And don't let me forget to mention Kevin Biggio was on that team, Jordan Romano, John Schneider,
MVP, Kevin Biggio.
Yes, let's not forget. And he tied the franchise record for the Fisher Cats with, I think it was 27 bombs that year. Short porch in right field, be darned. Even Harold Ramirez was on that team. John Birdie was on that team.
Was.
Jonathan Davis was
major
on that
leaguers.
Team for a splash. If you look at that roster, tons of major leaguers. So it's clear the Blue Jays know how to identify big league caliber talent. But unfortunately, in fits and starts, those top-ranked prospects haven't been able to either stay healthy or pan out at the highest level.
Correct. Some of my favorites that thankfully he's caught on somewhere else, but Ryan Barucki was always one of my favorite young pitchers. And that same season when I met you the first time was incredible to watch. Great lefty starter. Eventually, obviously, found his way further into the bullpen, and he's still having a decent go with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but it's still one of those things that it's like, I know there was so much more there, and you could see it when he was playing in the minor leagues, and health is always a major issue with a lot of these kids and everything. It's just as important as being that talented to begin with.
That's so true.
So,
yeah, we've had a lot of Jays on the cast in the last, sort of 6 months. Guys whose careers probably weren't as long as we expected them to be based on how good they were. And so it's interesting when you see a guy that is coming up sort of rocketing through the stratosphere. When he's with your team, it's a little different because, Ellie De La Cruz basically came out of nowhere. Certainly there was people in Cincinnati who probably knew about him and, maybe a few others, but I remember just seeing this guy in his debut, and I was like, how has this guy not been talked about for 6 months? And now, I know that we're sort of sheltered in Canada here, but to start to hear him being talked about across the whole country it's so awesome. And I actually, a bunch of people that I, was interacting with, they thought he was Canadian. Just because of the way he presents himself, and he's been drafted by the Jays, and I feel like he just associates with Canada almost as much as Vladdy does. I know he was not born here, none of that, but I don't know what it is about the way he speaks and the way that he is that people assume he's Canadian. So I think that's kind of funny, actually.
I do find that actually I had to remind myself in the early goings of the season that Arjun is in fact not Canadian, because Jason, I'm picking up what you're putting down, and those people that you've talked to, he does seem to have that overall kind of vibe. Somebody who is quite well spoken, obviously selected by the Blue Jays 20th overall a couple of years ago out of high school. So he has been drinking the Blue Jays Kool-Aid since he became a pro. No college career to really have him be taught a different way to be. He knows how to handle the media. He has a little bit of a Florida surfer bro to him in the way that he talks. Very laid back, has been so easygoing with all the media that's been put on him since he got to Vancouver. And certainly I think that he also understands the weight of his cultural heritage as well. We, in fact, are celebrating South Asian Heritage Night coming up on Tuesday, the 27th at the Nat, a custom special jersey. Arjun very much at the center of that. And he spoke very, very impressively about what his heritage means to him. And so he has that added burden or blessing, depending on how you slice it, to continue to be a part of all the other things unrelated to having to hit a 1-2 breaking ball that catches the outside corner. So him balancing all those things, I think Blue Jays fans across the country are now starting to realize this guy is special. And Hazel May, even, she came to our ballpark last Saturday. The game got rained out for Women in Sports Day, but she actually requested, if possible, to meet Arjun. She was in the press box. I took her upstairs. They had a nice 5-minute chat. And she, after the fact, after Arjun had gone back to the clubhouse, turned to me and just said, my goodness, like that guy, that is a guy we'll be seeing in Toronto sooner rather than later. And she hadn't even seen him in person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, Tyler, that you bring up is, and I watched the Jays special they did on him a year ago or so, about the increase in baseball in India. I mean, it's already a decently played sport, and I mean, we're talking about a massive population of humanity, and it is interesting to have a guy. There hasn't been a breakthrough athlete in a sport in quite some time where really there hasn't been anyone of their background in that sport. And he really, it's like you said, it's either a blessing or a curse. And I feel like this guy is really, really taken it on. And I feel like he's lucky that he's here in Vancouver because there is such a large, South Asian population. And he, immediately I noticed more South Asian people at the Nat. And I feel like it's the same, like when Gretzky went down to LA, immediately hockey exploded down in the south of, and I feel like the cool thing for us is, as my kids play baseball against a lot of really good South Asian kids that I don't know continue on past a certain point, past Little League, past maybe U15, just because it's not traditional within their family to play baseball. And so they're pushed towards soccer, they're pushed towards cricket, they're pushed towards other things that may be more traditional. So I think it's super cool that he's carrying the medal for that. And it couldn't be a better time to be doing it in Canada.
That's the truth. And Vancouver, I think, is the perfect place for him to have his real big coming out party as a prospect. Yes, much was made about him last year, but it feels like 2025, for however long he's with the Canadians, is the year, even 20 years from now, we could look back and say, oh, this was Arjun's coming out party, and truly established himself as that top tier prospect, other than just with the eye test and with, what you think he can project to be, but actually bona fide stats to back up all the prospect hype. And I think it's easy for us, as three white guys, to be talking about how, somebody's having their huge impact in the culture, but not really truly understand it. For me personally, being able to watch it over the first 6 weeks of the season, seeing what you're seeing, Jason, the influx of South Asian fans at the Nat and people reaching out from various South Asian media outlets wanting to interview Arjun just because of what his cultural background is, let alone how good he is on the field. It's a great reminder, certainly for me, 11 seasons into my minor league career and a lifetime of sport watching, how powerful sports can be, and baseball specifically.
Exactly. It's an amazing, wonderful story. And obviously it's the talent, the content of his character, and the work ethic that you do greatly see. And you mentioned a few minutes ago, the trials and tribulations he went through last year with having a rough start to the season, then getting injured, and then having to come back from it and having a really great bookend to that season. Obviously that's what's led to the translation of this year into just raking and starting right off of the bat with you guys and getting really, really good. So, but to that point, it's all these wonderful things that are really contributing to what you mentioned with Hazel May. She's seeing a pro baseball player, and that's the easiest thing for somebody like her, as talented as she is. She's seen it. She knows it. It wouldn't shock me that if she was, not doing what she's doing, that she would have been a scout for a baseball team. She's just so good at what she does. So I just think that is the highest of all compliments, that she's seeing what we're all talking about.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure.
So what's going on with our good buddy Nick Goodwin, friend of the show, Nick Goodwin?
Yeah, Nicky G back for his second full stint. He, of course, came up down the stretch after he got drafted in 2023, hit one of the more exciting home runs in my Canadians tenure, kind of iced the clinching game of the Northwest League Championship Series for his first career high A homer. Even if though it was in the playoffs, we count it. A towering blast into the neutral zone in left field at the Nat. That truly is etched in my mind for a long time. I think for Nick, the glove always has been there. He is an elite defender at his best. A guy can go get it on really either of the middle infield positions. And hey, if you wanted to stick him at third, I know he would find a way. I think it's the bat that obviously needs to come around. If you just look at the stat sheet, you can see those numbers aren't going to play in the upper minors and beyond. Nobody knows that better than Nick Goodwin, and somebody who this year certainly has a little bit of extra. Maybe it's not fire. He's always been a terrific competitor, but maybe even a chip on his shoulder to say, hey, I'm better than what my stats might be showing. He has been very clutch for the Canadians historically. And now it's just a matter of getting those reps because he's blocked by Arjun Namala at shortstop. Adrian Pinto, when healthy, is the starting second baseman for this team. Cutter Coffey, who was acquired from the Red Sox in the Danny Jansen trade last year at the deadline. All of those things are keeping Nick Goodwin from getting some regular reps at the middle infield position. But for him, I know he's working extra hard to stay ready when those opportunities come up.
Knock on desk. We can't root for him any more harder than what we loved having him on the show. Jason got a chance to interview him. It was Jason, he told you that story about that home run during that interview, didn't he?
Yeah. When I had him on the show, he had just come up. And so it was just past that. He was still super excited about it. And we're looking to get him back on hopefully in a couple of weeks here and see where like you said, I know the batting average probably isn't where he wants it, but the kid's a gamer. And so I'm happy to see him.
Competition drives a lot, and to that point, he's got some stiff competition there to be able to play around with. So
it is true, as cliche as it is to say, easy for me to say, the rising tide raises all boats. So being around, some of these more highly ranked prospects, I think is only going to be good for Nick. And I root for all these guys, but I will say Nick Goodwin is towards the top of my list. Just getting to know him over the last 18 months or so, truly a guy that I'm really rooting for and have seen the potential. And if I was a manager, I'd be finding a way to get that guy ABs as much as I could.
To the other point, you mentioned one of the other gentlemen I haven't seen a lot of videotape on him and everything, but I see the stats going like this every time I look. And you mentioned Pinto. I'm looking forward to seeing more of what he can do. What have you been able to see from the press box for him playing second base?
It's all going to come down to health for Adrian. There is zero doubt he can be a big leaguer, maybe in the mold of Jose Altuve, as easy as a comp as that might be based on their respective heights. I think Adrian Pinto brings you that. He's a great middle infielder. He's got very impressive pop, surprisingly so for a guy who's only 5'7.5", and was tied for the league lead in home runs for all of last week until Arjun and number 2 Mariners prospect Lazaro Montes both homered within minutes of each other last night. So Adrian with 7 homers in about half as many games is very much one of the feared sluggers in this league. It's just about keeping him in the lineup. Plays a solid second base. The arm can be a little suspect sometimes, but he knows how to compensate. Base, though. And that's the thing. It's like from that position, just got to get it in the general area and let the first baseman.
Second baseman.
Yeah. Tall first baseman.
Yeah, there it is. So the one thing that impressed me really with him was I just can't believe how fast he gets to the ball. And that's obviously where a lot of that thunder's coming from. And it was just really cool to see the video I have seen on him and how fast he can, just rake the bat through the zone. And it really pays off, obviously.
Yeah, short, compact swing, exactly what you want from a player of his stature. And he really is able to pack a punch. It's actually almost unbelievable.
So in the midst of all the wonderful people that you have seen, as like you mentioned, you've been with the Canadians for 5 years, has there been somebody that you're like, oh wow, I'm so glad I get to see this person every day, even if, like you mentioned, it's just while he happens to be a Canadian? But to that point, is there anybody that really truly sticks out? Because I know we talked about during the pregame show some of the people you got to hang out and see in New Hampshire when you were there, but what's stuck out in Vancouver?
I think Alan Roden has to be the first guy. I mean, he was such a joy, not just to cover, but to get to know in his really first half of the 2023 season before he was promoted to AA New Hampshire. To this day, I'm in touch with the Pride of Middleton, Wisconsin every so often. Was so elated for him to make it to the majors and really show his stuff. And when that spot reopens up, I know he's going to be ready. Davis Schneider, another guy. He really turned himself into who he became in that remarkable Major League debut when he was with the Canadians in 2022. He had an incredible stretch of games. I think it was against the Tri-City Dust Devils, not at Tri-City, where he was the Northwest League Player of the Week. Soon after that, he was a New Hampshire Fisher Cat. And then not long after that, he was a Toronto Blue Jay. So Alan Roden, Davis Schneider, certainly two of the guys. I know Alan was a ranked prospect and continues to be. Davis in the system since 2017. Everybody knows his story at this point. Two guys who for sure are all-timers in my Canadians tenure. It was also great to be around for the Ricky Tiedemann experience, as brief as it was. So really getting a chance to cover all those guys. And dark horse, the manager, Brent LaValle, for 3 seasons, 2022, 2023, 2024. He's now the Fisher Cat skipper. He's from North Delta, BC, just 30 minutes away from the ballpark in Vancouver. He is a guy a la John Schneider, young-ish in his late 30s, who really knows the game, understands analytics and the role that they play, but is a player's first manager, guys willing to run through the wall for Brent LaValle, and certainly somebody that I truly have really enjoyed, not just working with, but getting to know.
Yeah. And that's awesome, because I was wondering if it would have been Alan Roden and Davis Schneider from that time frame that you started there and where they've obviously gotten to in that same tenure. I got to see Alan Roden last year in Buffalo, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to be a star. There's something with the work ethic. He reminded me of being a giant Blue Jay fan, obviously, of somebody like Reed Johnson. Reed Johnson was just a gamer for the Blue Jays for years and years and years, and showed up and did his job. And Alan Roden, I just know he's going to find a way to contribute at some level every day he's in the lineup. That's that last little bit here, because you can see he's outgrown AAA. He's doing that same thing again
right now in Buffalo, isn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. And honestly, I'm sure a lot of that is like, I had the taste, I'm going back. But at the same time, like I said, he puts up numbers like that, he's not going to be down long. And some of the other people I've enjoyed watching, Jonathan Clausse hasn't found a way to translate at that major league level yet. Nathan Lucas has found a way to hang out in this ball club and done a really good job. But I think Roden's going to get another shot sooner rather than later. So that's what I'm looking forward to your exact point, Tyler.
Absolutely.
So I want to make sure that, I'm all the way on the East Coast in Rochester, New York. I want to make sure you get a chance to talk about the Bailey. I only hear all these amazing stories. Vancouver is the one major Canadian city that I have not been to, and I'm like dying to go, and especially just to have a few beers with Jason here and goof around. Talk to us. Tell us some of the stuff that you get to see every day, because it sounds amazing as far as what is going on.
It is a special place in my entire baseball life, which goes back to being a fetus at San Diego Padres games in 1990. But I've been to a lot of minor league parks, and there is none that really gets into the class of Nat Bailey Stadium. The history, of course, the architecture is in such a way that you don't see anymore. It's not bells and whistles that Nat Bailey certainly rests its hat on. It's not just the tradition either. It's the experience, and the fans are really at the center of that. The fact that you can pack out that place with 6,000 plus on a Friday afternoon, almost every other Friday throughout the entire summer, is a testament to the fandom for the folks in Vancouver who show up to support their only professional baseball team. And so to be able to represent for the city, for the province, and for the country at such a special place. We'll celebrate 75 years of the Nat next year, and it will also coincide with the completion of the two-phase renovation project that, of course, was set in motion by MLB's guidelines and standards for all minor league parks. But it was important for us, the Canadians, as the caretakers of historic Rogers Field at the Nat, to bring the ballpark into the new era, to meet those guidelines, to keep baseball in Vancouver, but most importantly, to honor the tradition and the history of the building, the professional teams that have played there, all the players and coaches and staff, and most importantly, fans who have so many great memories at the Nat. And so, Craig, really, I don't think you can call yourself a true Blue Jays fan, dyed in the wool, fully can go anywhere and say you're a big Jays fan until you come to Vancouver and see a game at the Nat.
To that point, Tyler, like I mentioned, I'm dying to do it. It's like, it's one of those things that's like at the top of my bucket list. I haven't gotten it. And like to that point of the baseball fandom that I have, to your point, I've been in countless minor league ballparks, been to at least 20 of the current major league ballparks. It's like the one place I hadn't been. And my day job had not taken me to Vancouver to do that. But I've been to, Alberta, Edmonton, every other major Canadian city. For some reason, Vancouver has been left off that list.
Well,
and I'm going to fix it no matter of flight time.
It's 74 years of the Nat, Craig, 74 more years and counting. I'm assuming you will get here a little sooner than the next 74. But we'll keep a yard dog hot for you. I think a great promo graphic for the show would be you and Jason sharing a yard dog, Lady and the Tramp style.
Yeah,
that could be nice.
It would happen.
3 feet, 3 feet. It's safe distancing as well. Bring a garbage plate or two with you, Craig, and we'll get the yard dog ready for you.
Yeah, got the plates hat right over there.
I think the thing
and to that point, Jason, it's like Tyler's been listening to this show, because that would be kind of up our alley for our level of
very much
shenanigans
so.
on
If
this
we
show.
were ever challenged to do that, we would do it. I think one of the things too that is so absolutely special about Nat Bailey Stadium just is, and even Nick and a few of the players that we've had on, they seem to all echo the sentiment that the 6,000 that are there sound like 20. Like, because of the way the stadium's angled and because everything bounces off the trees and comes back, at night especially, when there's no noise in the city, it is electric. And I mean, if you get a chance to go, I mean, if you live here in Vancouver and you haven't gone, I don't know what's wrong with you, but it's one of those things. It's so special. The Nooners at the Nat are just like, my friends and I go to the first one of the season every year. It becomes a destination, which is, similar to what, the Savannah Bananas have done. And the Seas have the one thing that I wish that we did better as media in the city of Vancouver is reported on the Seas. Like, they're very rarely on Global or on CTV or on whatever. The score is never on the news. So, I mean, I think, it's kind of sucks, but the people who are baseball people dig it, and the people who are baseball people follow it.
I would agree 100%. And I do think our friends at Global and CTV are maybe starting to shift that a little bit now, as we've fully left behind the era of having like a beat reporter for the province coming out and covering every game. Steve Ewan still does a terrific job showing us some love in the paper. I got to shout out Jay Janauer and Squire Barnes.
Yeah.
Arjun Namala this year certainly has been a little extra carrot to get some of those guys out. Jay Janauer specifically does the best he can to show love, but I think you're right, Jason. I think that there's an opportunity now that this is a full season team from April to September, where 5 seasons in, 4 seasons being back in Vancouver as a full season club. I think now things are starting to wake up in the city to where they say, hey, the Seas are here for 6 months. It's not just that summertime sprint where we can go and enjoy a couple of games. Now we can get invested differently. And I think, as we know in the media follows public opinion and public attention. And so as the Canadians start to barge in for some of that April and May space that hockey, of course, rightfully occupies in Canadian and Vancouver sports fans' minds, that will shift a little bit.
I mean, I guess that's
having
one nice
Arjun
thing about
Namala
the Canucks
in
being
the
awful.
It is a catch-22 for us on Ontario Street. I will tell you this, fellas. We are always rooting for fellow Canadian sports teams and specifically fellow teams in our fair city. Yet we can't lie and say that if the Canucks make a deep run in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it does affect some of the attention that we get paid by fans and media and the radio station. So I'm willing to make that trade if the Canucks can win the Cup. But to go to the first round and be out, it's just kind of like, couldn't you have just kind of not made the playoffs?
Yep, exactly. I'm right with you.
For sure.
Arjun Namala being one of the cover athletes basically for Baseball America this month, I'm sure is not hurting at all either.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, it said that we drink deeply from any well that we are able to find water in.
Yeah. So I got a wonderful question in the chat here. I want to make sure I put up here and actually ask one of our frequent flyers in the cheap seats. Listen to Jason, Liz, and I every week. Michael Borland is asking, is there an appetite in Vancouver for a big league team? Are the people, you ever heard of anything? Because obviously we know that Nat Bailey does sell out. So there's obviously a lovely baseball culture in there. But as far as what you've seen, would you assume that this would eventually fly? Obviously, I guess is a better question.
I think, to Michael's question, there is certainly a universe where Vancouver can carry and support and help a Major League Baseball team thrive. I actually think the thing, just from my very lowly opinion, what does my opinion truly matter? But just from what I've seen, there are other cities, specifically in the U.S., where they might be a little bit higher on the prospect rankings to be a potential 31st and 32nd Major League city, because, of course, you got to bring 2 in. I think, weirdly, even a place like Mexico City could make a strong case if baseball as a business wants to continue to incorporate all sorts of baseball leagues and fans from across the globe. You see it with the World Baseball Classic, and it would behoove MLB to try and add a Mexican team. They've got a team in Canada, could have a second team. I think Montreal also might be ahead of Vancouver on that list for the righting of past wrongs type of idea.
Yes.
But I think if you make a list of North American cities that can carry and support and help a Major League Baseball team thrive, Vancouver is the top 5, regardless of the prospects of them actually getting a team.
Yeah, I
I know.
couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think this is the conversation that I have most with my friends, peers, coaches, people who aren't from here, especially if somebody comes and watches a Seas game. They're like, "How do you guys not have a major league team?" I mean, I think there's a lot that you said, Tyler, that are bang on. I mean, the fact that Portland doesn't have a team, the fact that like there's lots of places in the US, Nashville doesn't have a team. Like there's places that could support a baseball team and probably wouldn't have any, effort trying to do it. Montreal, obviously they have weather struggles. Vancouver, I mean, I feel like the money's there. I feel like the want is there sometimes, but we don't really go, right in for things. Like we don't mind putting our toes in the water. We don't mind even getting into our knees at some points. I mean, hockey is a safe one. I mean, we're watching the CFL die on the vine in Vancouver, unfortunately. I mean, Snoop Dogg bringing 40,000 people into BC Place is going to help. But when the next home game has, 2,000 at it, it doesn't really help. So, I mean, I feel like Vancouver has a fickle fan base, and you would have to bring, if you were to start a team, it would have to be a really good team. They couldn't suck for a long time, or people would turn their back on them. And people who say they didn't turn their back on the Grizzlies because they were awful are wrong. They're just flat out wrong. There were Grizzlies fans for sure, but there wasn't enough of them for the NBA to say, hey, we can make a lot more money taking this thing somewhere else. And so, I mean, it's hard to swallow because I would love to have a major league team here. And, like you said, Tyler, I think that there'd be day games would be decently full. The night games would be packed. And when that guy a couple of years ago wanted to put up his own money to build a stadium downtown Vancouver out on the water, it would have been like a la San Francisco, where one of the home run areas would have gone right out into the ocean. This dude wanted to put his own money up. Let me say that again. His own money. Hundreds of millions of dollars of his own money to do this. And 35 people on the Lower East Side said, well, we don't want it. And so, unfortunately, that's what we do. The idea was gone, and I fear it'll never come back.
And we'll soak up being the only pro baseball in town for as long as we can.
Exactly. The Seas win.
And have some great promos once the way, which I want to get to in a minute here. But Jason, I think it's funny that you mentioned that they would have to be good right out of the gate. So you would think they'd have to be like the Vegas Golden Knights, basically, to hurry up and cement a team as far as that kind of thing goes. Because that is still one of the craziest things I've ever seen in sports, with them being able to run with an expansion team right to the playoffs like that. It's wild. Even just look at like what the Miami Marlins did. They had to spend crazy and basically pump and then dump the whole thing just to even make it work. And thank God they won 2 World Series, I guess. But they were wild card teams, and then we're the worst team in baseball the year or so right after both those World Series.
So, I find it interesting you would bring up the Golden Knights. So here's something. When I was last in Vegas, we were down there for a baseball tournament, and it was off-season hockey. I was in a Shake Shack, and the entirety of the staff, minus one person, was wearing Vegas Golden Knights stuff. And I was floored. I was like, what's going on? Like, this is off-season
hockey popular in the desert.
One of the girls has a Flurry jersey. I'm like, what is going on here? So I asked, being the person that I am, I was like, guys, what's the deal? And so what they said was the Knights were new. They were popular downtown. They were making a bit of a stir. And unfortunately, when the shooting happened from the hotel, and they shot those people at the country music thing, the first entity that came out with anything, you guys remember Vegas Strong, right? That was the Vegas Golden Knights. They had Fleury show up. They had Nate Smith show up. They had Marcia show up. They did a big thing, and it was just the Knights. And that city took to them like nothing I've ever seen. They might like the Raiders. They might like anything else that they get. They love the Golden Knights. And it's weird. Like it's weird for a hockey team to be that loved, but you could put 3 hockey teams there. They do well based on that.
There we go. So I wanted to talk some of the funny, because obviously, Tyler, you've been in minor league baseball for a while. You have a great, wonderful team there in Vancouver, but minor league baseball is minor league baseball, and it's meant to be immensely fun, especially for the fans. You've been a big part of that for your entire your career. So What's some of the funner things that you've seen around the game, and what kind of things do you like to do when you're obviously calling games to make sure you bring that little extra piece to it?
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, minor league baseball very much has leaned in over the last decade into the fact that it's baseball, but it's also so much more. I think if you want just straight baseball, you're going to get from the major leagues, but you come to the minor leagues, and this year they rolled out a brand new MILB-wide statement of come for the fun, stay for the baseball. And one of the things that's been bandied about amongst GMs across the industry as well for many years, it's like something along the lines of 60% of fans who leave a minor league game don't know the final score. And so that really was a way for them to say, hey, yeah, what goes on between the lines is important. That's why we're here. But it's all the other stuff that is entertaining for the fans and keeping them coming back, or it's a great moment for kids, et cetera, et cetera. So whether it's the Fisher Cat Sumo in AA New Hampshire, or where I cut my teeth in the California League with the Lake Elsinore Storm for many years, we're on the avant-garde edge of doing stuff on the field. The year after I left, they had an on-field mascot berth complete with water breaking. So there have been all sorts of things all on the spectrum of zany and funny and wacky, sometimes even over the top wild. Back in my intern days, I put on a gorilla suit, got on a bike, had a joust that was made out of a long PVC pipe with a foam pool noodle and then a foam football cut in half put on the end. And I jousted with another mascot person behind home plate, biking all the way down the warning track. Got to New Hampshire, became the on-field MC, was dressed up in all sorts of crazy costumes, everything from Ron Burgundy to Jon Snow to Gene Simmons with my own Kiss makeup, and really being able to create characters and experiences for fans with a baseball setting that allowed me to really share my love of the game. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it. It was a fun era. The Zick character really became quite the thing in New Hampshire. I guess I'm still on the wall at the Fisher Cats at Delta Dental Stadium, including in the men's bathroom. I'm watching you while you pee. So my legacy has been left at the tooth, which is terrific for me. And so now as a broadcaster and working for a team in the Vancouver Canadians that really maybe does the least amount of minor league hijinks other than the sushi race and the chicken dance in the sixth inning than anybody else historically. But right now, this year, this season, we've got brand new theme nights. We're doing a lot more bobblehead giveaways and other giveaways, in fact. So kind of leaning back into what makes minor league baseball so special. As much as the Canadians, really, it was major leagues done minor or minor leagues done major for so many years. It still is, but we can add that sprinkle of sauce on there to really make it unique to minor league baseball.
Definitely. So I have to ask, because I'm a John Oliver fan. Did you guys apply for the random rebranding craziness that he threw out there?
We did not apply, and given the
You have a great brand.
It is a great brand, and given the geopolitical climate of the last few months, being a team called Canadians in Canada, representing the entire country, really has behooved us in more ways than one. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Erie Seawolves. I've been to UPMC Park back in my Eastern League days, and so I'm excited for them to get a chance to get John Oliverized.
Yeah, I when he brought that up, I was watching the show and it like blew my mind. I'm like, he's nailed it. That this is minor league baseball as far as the fun part that you were talking about. Obviously, you, me, and Jason, monster baseball fans, but you are not wrong with that stat that you mentioned. That most fans that come to a ball game have a few beers to hang. They're there to goof around. They're here to have out, and hey, there happens to be a great baseball game on the field, right? So if you're able to tweak that to the point where it obviously helps you with ticket sales and gets a few more people in the ballpark to obviously continue the machine moving in the right direction, have some fun. It's a win for everybody, right?
That's the idea.
So
it's a game.
That was a great idea.
Have fun. That's exactly
the only thing for me is the soya sauce has to be a little faster in the sushi race. I keep betting on the soya sauce, and wasabi beats it almost every. Wasabi wins 87%. The kids wearing cleats though. We're running out of cleats.
It's certainly a guy in wasabi who will take every opportunity to try and figure out a way to win. If that's wearing spikes, so be it. And fellas, I hate to be that guy, but I'm getting a text about a lineup change, which means with our game coming in less than 2 hours, I'll have to boogie in just a second. But if you got one or two more, I'm your guy.
We're gonna do you one better. We always make sure our guests have the shameless self-promoting bit at the end of the show. And we're going to let you do that right now. And then I need one last thing for you.
Yes.
We do picks to click on this show. And I need who you're going to pick in and lock who's going to be the best in the Blue Jays baseball from today to when we record our next Wednesday who do you think in the Blue Jay lineup is going to be the best player over the next week?
Let's go with my old friend. Let's go with my old friend Addison Barger. We enjoyed Barge in 2022 and 2023. Actually, 2021 and 2022. Excuse me. Addie's my zaddy tonight, and so I think Addison Barger for the next week is a guy who I think I'm picking at the right time. So I would say Addison Barger, to be sure, is my pick to click for the Jays.
There you go. So obviously now it is your moment to shine, my friend, right before you peace out and have fun and obviously enjoy the evening in Eugene and have a great night. But yeah, what's up? What's going on in the Zix world and how things going and just whatever you want to rant about for a minute, where to find you.
I am a team guy first. So at Van Canadians, that is the place to get all the up-to-date information for Arjun, for Trey, for Cal Steven, who we didn't really talk about, but the number 10 Blue Jays prospect who will start tomorrow, Thursday, the 22nd. So at Van Canadians, come to the Nat. Really, that's my big pitch. Come out to the Nat. We have tons of consecutive seasons leading the league in attendance, and we'd like to continue that as well. Come experience what we're all about on Ontario Street. That's my big ask. Big ask. Wow, easy for me to say again. But you never know. Ask my wife. And so I will say this. If you get out to the Nat and you can reach out to me at Tyler_Zickel and you're a listener of the show, let me know so I can come say hello and maybe give you an opportunity to see what's what at the Nat, maybe take you to the roof to see one of the finest views of a downtown vista that you'll ever get at a minor league ballpark. So truly, come to the ballpark, support the Canadians, and that is truly is going to make my day and my season if you can join us on Ontario Street.
Deal. Tyler, I cannot say thank you enough. It was great catching up with you again for the first time in a long time. We'll have to make you a little bit more of a little bit regular over here if you want to be. Blue Jays fans are filling up our chat, of course, because they must be all just getting out of work or setting in for the ball game tonight, one or the other. And like I said, thank you again. We greatly appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, fellas. Jason, next time you're at the ballpark, please get in touch. We'd love to shake a hand
100%.
and say hello. And also, to all the Blue Jays Debbie Downers out there, which I know it's easy to do, keep your head up. It's going to be okay. Twitter can be a cesspool sometimes. And just remember, it's a game. Yes, they're our only team in Canada, but these boys are going to figure it out. I just trust me. They're going to find a way. It's going to be good.
Yeah. The positivity is infectious, man. The power of positivity. I love it. So thank you again, Tyler. We'll talk again soon. And I will be making a trip.
Thank you. We'll keep the hot dogs, the yard dog warm for you, Craig. Go Canadians. Catch you guys next time.
See you, buddy.
Good deal. Cheers, bud. What a wonderful visit from our buddy Tyler Zickel of the Vancouver Canadians. See plenty of you still in the chat. We greatly appreciate it. And Michael Borland, yes, we have gotten the intel. Arjun is the real deal. So just to say, you're going to have to rewind on the show because that was basically the first 10 minutes of the show. So
you can Jason, when you re-listen to it on podcast, you'll find out how much this guy Tyler's got to say. We're gonna try, against Try to see if we can maybe get Arjun. I'm lucky enough to be here, and I think with a new link with Tyler here, we're hoping to maybe get Cutter, maybe get Arjun, maybe get a few of these guys on. I reached out to Nick the other day. Hopefully, we can get him back on. This is an important part. This is an important part of what the Blue Jays are going to be over the next 3 to 5 years. And I mean, sure, you can go look at the C's lineup and there's some journeymen in there that are never going to make it. They're just filling spots. But there's a lot of kids that are coming up right now at a pretty meteoric pace. And some of it's pretty exciting if you're a Jays fan.
Well, we saw what that meteoric rise could look like in one of the gentlemen that he was literally toting as one of his favorite people that he's gotten to interact with in Alan Roden. He went from being, obviously he's been a good prospect the whole entire time and he was always ranked, but he just blitzed through the last year or so of his minor league tenure. So it can happen. And you look at what's going on right now, Namala, Savage, some of these guys are in that same meteoric possibility at the moment, and it's really cool to watch, and you're going to get the benefit out of that the most. So Rogers
still owes me tickets. I won tickets, if you can believe it. I won box seats, and 2 games got rained out back to back. I was supposed to be at the one Hazel May was at, and then the next.
It sounds about like my luck.
So you got it, Rogers. You owe me 4 ducats.
There you go. So anyway, Jason, let's use these last 15 minutes to talk what's happened in Blue Jays baseball for the last week, because it's been slightly all over the place. And it's still that identity crisis, I feel like, with this team. But to the Zic's wonderful positivity, I still feel there's something in the tank for this team. I just don't know what that zip is going to be to actually get them moving in the right direction. And that's the unfortunate catch. But the pitching's been solid. There's been enough hitting of late. Apparently, we can win on 3 hits as of last night, which included home runs from Tony Taters and Vlad. What's on your mind, bud?
I also I think that one of the big things to take from the Detroit series and from the game last night. So they beat arguably the best starter in the majors right now. I mean, I think you could go back and forth whether you think Cease is the best starter. I watched a chunk of the game. He is grotesque. Movement on that his ball is unbelievable. He throws from the same slot. He Springer almost fell over twice. I was worried they were going to have to get a stretcher and take him off. No, but just like
old definition of knee buckling, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I know that in the Detroit series they only won one, and they were all 1-run games. But Jays fans have to take solace in the fact that Detroit is really good right now. Like, most people don't know that. They are excellent. They're one of the best teams in baseball, and so you lose by on aggregate, as they say in the soccer world, I think. But what was it total score? So Detroit got 5, 6, 7, 8, and the Jays got 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, I mean, it's right there.
You went toe to toe. Yeah, you went toe to toe with one of the big cats in the actual Major League Baseball, and the Detroit Tigers were the surprise of last baseball season. Remember, this time last year, they were one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. You can't outdo the White Sox, but just saying. But they turned around and made that a playoff team. It was very similar to what the Blue Jays did in 2015. They were a sub-500 team at the trade deadline. They traded one of their best players in Jack Flaherty, and still found it all the way to the playoffs. And Jack Flaherty being back, I know he's not where he was when he was traded last season, but he found it against the Blue Jays this past weekend, for better or worse. And to your point, I take a lot of actual good stock in the Blue Jays' fact that they were in those games, because there was a few opportunities in those, especially the 2 losses, Jason. They could have ran away with that damn game, and it would have been a blowout. They found a way to put the cap back on, and I mean, keep it close.
Getting Yayrod in a couple of times and having him have success. Varsho continuing to have success. Like, there are lots of good things to be taken from the last 2 weeks of Blue Jays baseball. And to be honest with you, if they can keep playing like this, I think that we will be surprised by the result 2 months from now. Like, if they can just keep, like, Vladdy's starting to come around and hit the ball hard every single time he hits it. Bo looks good. Varsho looks good. Nathan Lukes is playing well. Like, I mean, there's a whole, Ernie Clement, holy crap. Like, I mean, he is turning into
right now. Do you even bring our Andres Jimenez back and play his second base with how good Barger's been playing at third? And
it's such an interesting thing. It's such an interesting you would say it, because I feel like Jimenez has trade value, and he has it now. Like, I think that they could probably get a decent middle reliever or a prospect middle reliever, or even a prospect starter down the depth chart for him straight up just on his defense. Like, there are teams that are struggling for defense. I like the guy. I like the fact that he had a good spring training. That ups his value. But we have to start making some decisions on where these guys are going, because Barger is playing himself into the lineup, not out. Bo is playing himself in. Clement is playing himself in. Vlad is in. So, I mean, where do you go with these guys? Like, where do you start to go?
Even we were talking outfield stuff. As much as I want to see Alan Roden come up right now, unless you bring, Jonathan Clase back down, and he, you might as well let Clase sit on the bench and be a speedster, and let Roden keep destroying baseballs unless something changes, because Nathan Lucas has been so good.
Great.
He's been outstanding. I feel bad taking him out. He's been an igniter in this lineup that I was not expecting. He's having a rough last week, but he's still finding a way to drive in a few runs here and there and playing good defense. But he's been, up until the last 7 games, been one of the guys that's actually driving people in on this team.
Yeah.
So
and Hoffman looks better.
I have trouble sending him down, but maybe it's a hot hand thing. Just let him keep shuffling around.
But that's what baseball is, right? Baseball is a continuation of the hot hand all year long. Very rarely do you get multiple. Like look at Volpe. Volpe is a perfect example of what is good and bad about the majors, right? He started out on fire. Now he can't hit to save his life, and his bad defense doesn't make up for it. So now you've got, like, I was just reading the possibility that even though the Yankees are leading the division and they're playing well and all this other stuff, they're talking with the Braves about trading for Ozzie Albies. So, I mean, they're willing to throw in more than just Volpe. But I mean, would you have, if we had talked about that deal a month ago or a month and a half ago, people would have thought we were insane.
Yankees fans would castrate you.
Right. But it's a weird game that way where you know, if guys can get hot in succession, you really have success. So that's what the Jays are kind of on the precipice of right now, is guys getting hot, and then you'll see a game like last night where you only need 3 hits. Defense was great, pitching was unbelievable. You hit 2 home runs, you win a game. It's fun. But it's one of those things where you're like, you know, you don't want anybody to fall off. So to think that, you know, should Roden be brought up? I'd say so. I mean, Springer has been playing okay, but when Springer needs a day off, I would prefer him to Clase, to be honest with you. And Miles Straw's been great every time they put him. The Straw's been really good every time he's played. And so, I mean,
I think the problem is, how many outfielders can you really carry? That's right, and get them consistent ABs. And I agree with you that Clase is probably the odd man out at this point. It'd just be by default at the end of the day. But
only 9 spots.
Hitting side, yes, and on the end of the day, the hitting side has been, like I said, rough the last, outside of Bo and Bo Vladdy, and I think Kirky's been the other one that's been hitting hard over the last week, but everybody else has barely had a hit over the last week. It's been really rough, the pitching we've run into. People like Dylan Cease over the last week, and then Tigers. We had that much trouble with the Tigers staff, and this shows how good the Tigers are, Jason Lyons. They didn't face Scooble.
Yeah, I know.
And we still had a hard time.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, it's, you know, I find it interesting that you know, the full, when you look at the whole thing, like if you look at the Jays team batting average, it's 250, which is probably a little bit below where you want it to be, but that includes a lot of guys that are like not hitting well. Like there are a bunch of like Santander is really, really, for a guy who's played 42 games, all 42. No, 48 or whatever they play.
No, he hasn't played all of them at the end of the day, but he's been hurt and fighting a shoulder injury or whatever's going on allegedly, but he's been at $184 to your point. So
I mean, you've got real highs, you've got real lows. You know, like Miles Strauss hitting 307. He means he's played in 38 games. I didn't think he'd played in that many, but when you look at it, I mean, he's getting on, he's getting into scoring position, and in some of those games, we actually saw it work where, you know, Bo gets on, Vladdy hits him home. You know, Straw gets on to get through to Bo. Bo gets on, Vladdy hits them both home. You know, like it's
he had 3 hits over the last week in the whole 4 games that he played. Oh my God, it's even crazier. He only had 6 at bats and he had 3 hits.
I know.
Miles Straw.
And this is a guy who was in the minors last year, couldn't make the Guardians
the whole year.
I don't know, man. I feel like I'm kind of with Tyler, where I feel like this has been a little bit of a turning point. I want to see how this Padres series pans out. I think if they can take 2 from the Padres, I mean, that's something amazing. I think if they can take 2 from the Padres after really battling the Tigers, I mean, what do they have after that? I didn't look at the sked past that, but
I got it.
I mean,
give me a sec.
I'll see if I'll race you.
Yeah.
Tampa,
and we get
Texas,
to go to the minor league ballpark.
You know, George Steinbrenner Field. Tampa, Texas, Oakland A's. I mean, you could get hot in here, and you could make up a bunch of I mean, the American League East is going to be the American Least come the end of the day. It's going to be hard to get out of. The Yankees look great. You know, Boston looks okay. Tampa looks okay. We look okay. The Orioles look not great, but
the Yankees even have their flaws too. So there's not anybody to that point. But the question is, Is it going to be like every other year, Jason, where the American League East is where the wild cards come from? Right now, I'm thinking you're hard pressed with what's going on with the Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians. And there's enough going on in the West too.
Yep.
There's certain teams that always bother us that are finding a way to do the similar teams.
Being a Jays fan might be tough come the end of this year, but being a baseball fan, I think, is going to be real good come playoff time. I think we might see the best teams of the past 10 years make it through, and teams like the Dodgers will be challenged. They won't be able to roll through on multi-billion dollar payrolls. They're gonna be in it, and some of these teams are gonna surprise. I'm hoping that everything that I'm watching, reading, like all the pundits, all the media that claim to be professional or know what they're talking about, they're all just saying that the Jays they're like right there, like one little thing,
sleeping giant.
Yeah, and they could really do some major damage. So I mean, I'm looking forward to, because it might be a really fun summer. It might be a really fun summer. Like we might be looking at a real dog fight to get into the playoffs. And then if you do, it's gravy. I mean, I think the way that this Jays team is built, the expectations that we have, I think if they get in this year, I mean, sure, why not? If they,
Yeah, I'm in that ballpark that I'm hoping that the Blue Jays, it's suns out, guns out at the end of the day, right? They're just going to start flexing some of those power muscles as soon as things heat up there a little bit. And I'm hoping that yesterday, watching Santander hit a 118 mile per hour home run that never got more than 45 foot off the ground, man. That's nothing. This thing's a missile that ran into the stands.
Going out the other side.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you were standing in front of it like a Looney Tunes character, you're going to have a hole about the size of a baseball, and you're going to be looking through it. That's a Vladdy-like home run, and I'm hoping that he got a giant confidence boost out of that whole thing, because where he had that on an inside pitch, all that kind of stuff was all the things that shouldn't have happened. And his power and his ability to get to that ball against a very tough pitcher in Dylan Cease should be that catalyst for him to be happy about moving forward from. So on that note, Jason, I'm in that ballpark where we've talked a little bit. We got to do our 3 up, 3 down, and seeing there's only 2 of us, I think I'm going to do a downer and you do an upper, and then we'll each do our so I'm going to say first one, a downer. And this is just, I think that big bit is we couldn't hit last week. We only had a few guys that could find their way into the batting, stats in the box score the last week. We faced some really good pitching, but we need to find a way to hit the damn fastball, Jason. And I think that right there is the downer for me over the last week. Outside of a few home runs like we were just talking about, that's one downer. So you do your up, seeing we lost Jason and Liz is not here tonight.
I think I'm going to stick on what we were just talking about a second ago. I think I'm going to stay with Miles Straw being my up. I mean, every time they put this guy in, he performs, whether it's with the glove. He's made 9 or 10, sometimes multiple times in the same game, ridiculous catches. He's got great wheels to steal your base, and he seems to be hitting everything that's thrown at him. So, I mean, he's my up for sure.
There you go. So now that we've done the combined one, because we were short a person tonight, give me the Jason Lyons up and down.
I would have to say that my down, and I was just looking at it because I wanted to make sure it was in the I wanted to make sure of the date if I was covering it right. Was Kevin Gausman in the last game, the last Tampa game. And I don't know if I'm too far out on the week, but I'm going to pick Gausman.
He's got a chance to write that tonight, at least.
Yeah. He has been struggling to make the ball move like he wants to make it move. He's such a good dude and I like him a lot as a J, but he's got to get that ball moving to where it needs to go, or they're going to keep taking him out of the yard. And I would appreciate it if he looked a little angrier when they do take him out. Like, I really liked watching Bassett last night, jump off the mound.
Oh, he was frustrated.
I've never seen him that excited too on the other side of it. So when he struck that, I can't remember who it was that he struck out with he threw him an 86-mile-an-hour cutting changeup that he's been working on. And like,
this sounds like an oxymoron, a cutting changeup.
I know. But at our last practice, we talked
Charlie
about
Sheen, that's the eliminator.
Yeah, we talked about all these different grips. I'm trying to learn how to throw a splitter at 53 years old, and it was actually dancing pretty good last night. So, I mean, you can maybe the adage, you can teach an old dog new tricks as long as it's a split finger fastball.
Or get Dickie on the phone and see if he can teach you the knuckler or something like that, or get one of the Necro brothers.
Ghost fork is the next one I want to learn.
There you go. So that was your downer. What's your up? Oh, no, you said Strauss.
No, I had my up. Mine was Straussy.
Yeah, got it. So my up, I cannot say enough good things of what Bo Bichette is all of a sudden starting to do, and I'm just waiting for the power to erupt. He's been making great contact over the last week. Doubles have been back. There's just so many good things that are going on. Yeah, the strikeouts are exactly where you would think they'd be. He had 7 over the last week. I don't care.
I don't either.
Get some of these guys around the pillows. And he came close to hitting a home run last night on a ball that he had no, in my opinion, right to like just clunk the other direction. It got to the warning track in right field. And maybe a week from now, that is a home run. But this is a guy that also, just saying, had 7 hits last week.
Yep.
So
pretty
doing
good.
all right.
Yep, pretty good. The haircut's working.
The haircut is working. And then I can't
remember who I had for my pick to click last week.
I'm going there next. So I was gonna, make Tyler be that guy that picked our stuff. But so we did really bad last week, and I think I might win by default here because of what I just said. I'm just gonna list the names off. I'm not gonna say who that. Other than I just cheated.
I can't remember.
We had Santander, Varsho, Bo, and Kirk were our 4 picks last week.
Oof, that's all bad. Holy.
Yeah, like I said,
Kirk?
I think I might win with Bo just by default because he had 7 hits. Varsho had 2.
Yeah.
And then Kirky had a little bit of a rough week. And then Santander, as we were just talking about, didn't exist last week except for the home run. So, all right, I'm gonna mark myself on my second W of the year. I am the host, Jason, so it is your turn to pick instead.
Behind.
Go ahead, sir.
Gosh, I'm just getting crushed here. So
I'm just glad Liz didn't win a week in a row.
Yeah, I know. It's you guys have
we finally broke our winning streak. She won 4 in a row.
I think you know what I'm doing? I'm going Ernie Clement. I'm doing it.
Ernie.
I like the high socks. I like the false stirrup socks he's got going on. I'm going to Ernie Clement.
I love Ernie. I'm so glad so I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is on that whole Anthony Santander bit with him actually just making masher level contact. I'm gonna go Tony Taters.
There you go.
And that's after I dropped him in my fantasy baseball league. Just so the unfortunate reality is Liz is having fun at her the family cottage farm and whatnot this weekend. So she is not here with us this evening, so she gets the worst Blue Jay everyday guy, and that last week was an 0 for 15, George Springer. Ouch.
That's not good. Sorry, Liz.
Sorry, Liz. So, but anyway, Jason, is there any other Blue Jay topics? Anything else you would like to talk about before we obviously go off the air and go enjoy a wonderful 3-hit ball game so far?
Yeah, I got nothing, man. I'm just excited that some ball on. I'm excited to finally have a nice weekend here and get out and make sure that if you are, wherever you listen to us, wherever you catch a stream, go watch baseball. It helps. Yeah, it helps the ballpark. It helps the teams. It helps everything. And for the kids that listen to this, and I know there's a fair amount that are subscribed and hopefully are still listening, get out and watch it because it helps you. I thought it was important what Tyler was saying, about the rising tide raises all boats. I know how hard it can be, if you're the young part of a team, if you're the young, or if the youngest kid on the team, or you're the smallest kid on the team, or whatever. You made that team for a reason. Yeah, you made that team for a reason. and the boats around you will pick you up. You just have to trust them. You have to trust your team to pick you up and, play within yourself. So just keep it cool and keep playing baseball. Do something cool, as the kids say.
You got it, bud. Speaking of cool, I got a good cool one for us, that if you are listening and you are not just a Blue Jays fan, but into rock music, we are having our first rock star on the show next week. Shane Told of the Canadian band Silverstein is going to be on the show, and we're going to talk all things of obviously screaming emo rock music and screaming for the Blue Jays. That is the whole promo that we're going to be doing and having a good time. And so he'll be joining the show. We're going to have fun talking all of that. Like I mentioned, they have a very special thing going on for their 25th anniversary this year. They've already had one album come out in January, but they are going to do 2 this year, Jason. That's very ambitious for a band that's 25 years in. They are going to be releasing their new album in September called Pink Moon, but their current single from that is out as of last week, Negative Space. It's a great tune. Rockin', amp that stuff up while you're rooting for your Blue Jays. And come back and check out Shane Told of Silverstein coming to join us next week. And we will obviously have some fun talking Blue Jays baseball. Cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
So thank you again, Blue Jays fans. We appreciate you being in the fan chat and everything. We appreciate Tyler Zickel joining us to talk all things Nat Bailey and the Canadians. Awesome, fun times going on in Vancouver. And we get to, hopefully get him back and talk some more. We will talk to you next week with Shane Told of Silverstein, and we will talk all things Blue Jays baseball here on the Blue Jays Barroom Chat. That is the Jaybird Watching Podcast. Cheers, everybody.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Jaybird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC, and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!